Hello, if we haven't met before, my name is Brittany, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about sourdough today. I started my sourdough starter a little over a year ago, and it was one of the first things that I wanted to jump into. But I very quickly realized just how much discard you end up with. So if you are new to sourdough discard happens every time you feed it, and you have to feed it every day. So you have a jar with your sourdough starter in it. You have to remove half of the starter to add more flour or water in it to feed it so that it won't die. Basically, it's like an additional pet. Now there are things you can do to reduce this, like put it in the fridge and only feed it once a week. But then you need to take it out a couple of days ahead of time when you want to make bread and really plan ahead. I feed my sourdough every day because I like to use the sourdough discard. So when I feed it, I remove half, put it in a new jar, feed my sourdough starter, and then I'll use the discard separately. I have to discard though, because you have to double what your unfed sourdough starter is in food to keep it alive. So let's say that you start with 20 grams of sourdough starter. If you want to feed it without discarding, you have to add 10 grams of flour and 10 grams of water. That's fine. But tomorrow, when you have to feed it again, now you have 40 grams to start with. So you need 20 grams of flour and 20 grams of water. Very quickly outgrows the jars and becomes unmanageable. There's also like acidic levels and just keeping it healthy that is needed, that you need to discard for. The biggest difference between discard and the starter is the starter is fed. It is bubbly, it is active. The discard is not fed. It is not super bubbly anymore, and it would not do very good if you try to make bread with it because it's not active anymore. If you're just starting out with your sourdough starter, I recommend waiting a week before you start using the discard. That way it's really established and there's no funkiness going on, and it's a little bit more stable for your recipes. Using the sourdough discard is a great idea, one, because there's a whole lot less waste, and when you are trying to grow a homestead or just become more self-sufficient in general, the less you waste, the better. So it is actually really easy to use your discard, and it actually adds a lot to your cooking. There's a nice background flavor if you use it without letting it ferment at all. Like when I made sourdough discard donuts. I will link that in the description. But there is a hint of sourdough, but it's so barely there that it's just like a background flavor. And it's really nice. In addition, it also has vitamins and minerals, iron, fiber, all kinds of nutrients that you are adding to your food just by using your sourdough discard. You can use your sourdough discard anytime you use flour and a liquid. I have replaced flour and milk, flour and water. Now I don't replace the whole thing. So if I have a recipe that calls for a cup and a half of flour and a cup of milk, I would use 1 cup of sourdough discard, which is half and half. So I would take a half a cup away from the flour and a half a cup away from the milk. That way I can use the discard without messing up the ratios of the recipe. If you want to know more about recipes that you can use your sourdough discard for, make sure that you follow, because I post them very regularly, because that is something that I was determined to not waste. After about a month of me just throwing it away, that discard, I was like, I have to stop wasting this. So I have a fairly large jar, and end up with a lot of discards. So I definitely make a lot of recipes and share a lot of recipes using discard. Some of the favorites is like tortillas. My family loves the maple donuts and the pizza crust. And I'm constantly trying to think of more ways to use it. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of those recipes. Have a good day.